All right, folks, how's it going? We're live once again, another edition of Boxing Chit. If you're listening, it's hopefully on Zencaster or any other podcast platform. If you're watching, we're here on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. We just appreciate you being here. It's Josh here, along with Boz, holding it down across the pond. What's going on, my man?
Nothing much, just feeling really tired. It was now we got some cold. The cold is back now, so that's not a good thing, of course. But it's been very sunny anyway. That's how
Yeah,
it usually goes here, during the winter. Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty sunny as Philadelphia here where I'm at. You see all of this brightness. This light is natural. This is not me with the light on. This is natural coming through the windows. That's the
whoa,
type of day we're on right now. So
yeah,
not too bad.
because it's like 2 in the afternoon there or something like that.
Yeah. That is
Yeah,
true. It is that. I know it's more on the night side there, but
yeah, it is 8.
the sun has set. But cool,
Yeah.
cool. Well, of course, as always, appreciate you being here. As we appreciate all of you listening and watching. So we're here again to talk about boxing because it never ceases to leave us with a lack of entertainment. And of course, the big fight from the past weekend, number one on that list was in all likelihood Brandon Figueroa taking on Mark Magnifico Magsayo, the Filipino fighter who has put on some pretty excellent contests in those that we have seen him on. This was a Showtime card, and a WBC Interim World Featherweight Championship was on the line. Now,
Mm.
featherweight, that's a pretty solid division. It's getting deeper, I guess you can say. It was deep with the likes of Shakir Stevenson, who moved up and has subsequently moved up again, but it's
Yeah.
getting back to that mix again. And I think
Mm.
it will once some of these 122 pounders move on up there again as well. So,
Mm.
Figueroa, he's one of those guys who's entertaining. You probably knew his brother, Omar Figueroa, who had some entertaining fights during his career. But that being said, it's Brendan's time now, and he doesn't disappoint on the action side because he's a tall, lanky, come forward, fight on the inside type of guy, which you
Mm.
wouldn't expect given his size. But he is not one who you're gonna find just sitting back on his jab, backing away. He's gonna be in there head first, swinging, even to his detriment. It doesn't seem to matter. He likes to fight on the inside regardless. And I guess that's what allowed him to pick up a win, unanimous decision that is, over Mark Magsayo. Now, I haven't seen the fight in itself. I only saw a couple of highlights of it because I had an event I was at, and I know you were doing some stuff as well, Boz. But that being said, I think this fight did have some pretty solid implications as far as the division, and now we get to see what's next for Brandon Figueroa and Mark Magsayo. So, what are your thoughts on those two fighters and the potential for what could happen next?
Yeah, I mean, it was, of course, a very important victory for Figueroa, and after Luis Neri, his biggest, definitely. Yeah. Maxayo, what I have noticed that he does struggle against the more technical fighters, and also so those who move well, like Figueroa.
He
He's a
seems to slow
puncher.
down on the back end a lot. He definitely slows down on the back end of fights.
Yeah, so he's a puncher, which is very typical, I guess, for punchers, and that's how he usually wins. And so, of course, when he isn't able to really land with enough big punches, he struggles, he loses. I mean, against such high elite level fighters, like Brandon Figueroa, Ray Vargas, and yeah, and
Yeah.
so yeah, this is a good just. What I would like to see now is Figueroa fight somebody like Mauricio Lara, because he, as we know now, holds the WBA belt. So there's,
Excitement.
yeah, a lot of excitement, potentially a great fight there, and yeah, that's what people will want to see, of course. So I don't know about the other featherweights. I can, off the top of my head, well, there are some, of course, some others who are excellent, but there's a fight that I will right now probably want to see the most, at 126.
All right, good stuff. That is an excellent stylistic matchup from what we know of the two fighters. Essentially, shout out to Slide Encounter and says salutes, fellas. Appreciate you dropping in here, buddy. It's good to have you here. I know we were doing some dialogue here this past week on a couple of videos, so definitely appreciate you dropping in. S&C and Slide Encounter also says in this fight, I just saw Figueroa's volume punching starting to take over the fight. Excuse me. Yeah, I read something of that nature online as well. Their sliding counter. I think that definitely is one of his strong suits. I think that's how he was able to break down Louis Neary. Is that eventually the amount of punches he was throwing in that relentless fashion took over, and I think that is what will take him to the top, or has taken him to the top of the division, I guess you can say. And in order to counter that, you need a fighter who, like Stephen Fulton, was able to use his lateral movement, use his boxing skills and ability to keep the fight at a pace that he could handle as well. And Figueroa wasn't able to get off as much on Stephen Fulton as he has on some other fighters, and Fulton
Mm.
didn't allow him to drag him into one of those fights. So we know that Figueroa has a kryptonite and a very solid boxer who doesn't break under the pressure can be that kryptonite for Figueroa, who is no doubt about it a tough style to deal with, regardless of how you slice it. It's definitely a tough style to deal with because he takes a lot of punches, but that's what he does. He takes them. I haven't seen him. Well, he's been hurt with a few punches, but not badly enough to the degree that I don't think that he has one of the solid chins in the sport. It seems that he does, and his style makes for some very good excitement. Sliding Counter says, yes, Laura versus Figueroa will be very interesting. Yeah, as you mentioned there, Bob,
Mm.
that will be an interesting fight. Laura, he's one of those guys that you can drag Laura into one of those shootout type fights. So I can only see that fight going that type of way because I just don't see Laura staying poised for the entirety of the fight. So that could mean excitement. So I hope that matchup actually happens.
Yeah, Lara has serious power as well, so he's a rather dangerous fight. I mean, far from a safe fight for Figueroa anyway. So yeah, that would be a rather well. I would probably favor Figueroa slightly, but it would be a rather even
Yeah.
match. I mean, evenly matched opponents. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the ring ratings right now. Their top 10, of course, rounding out the top three, Laura, Vargas, and Magsayo, though some things could slightly change here over time. But then you have Luis Alberto Lopez, exciting fighter there. He has the IDF title. So Lopez, he recently beat Josh Warrington to pick up that IDF title. Then, of course, you have Laywood, Josh Warrington, Kiko Martinez still hanging around out there. Robeisy Ramirez working his way up. Michael Cullen and Isaac Dogbay. So Dogbay and Robeisy Ramirez are going to be facing each other here very soon. So we're going to see who comes out on top in that fight. Though I do favor Robeisy Ramirez, who seems to be on a pretty
Yeah.
solid trajectory at this point and has looked great over his last few fights. So yeah, things could iron out pretty well, shape up pretty well here at 126 pounds. But yeah, so many interesting matchups. Um, Ray Vargas, he lost to Oshaki Foster recently, so he might be out of the picture for a little bit. So he should go down.
Mm.
And but yes, Luis Alberto Lopez, that would be a good, interesting fight against Brandon Figueroa as well. I like him,
Oh yeah.
and he's been one who could upset the apple cart.
Yeah, the guy who beat Warrington, yeah,
Yeah,
last. Yeah, yeah, of course. I like his style too. I mean, he's also
yeah.
another really aggressive fighter, and yeah, I mean, a good, technically rather a good fighter, I would say as well, because he got the
Yeah.
better of Warrington. Even though that was a close fight, but I still thought that yeah, he won definitely.
Oh yes, indeed. One fight that I see here that I want to see that I haven't seen anything on, so I can't really make a judgment on the fight itself. But it was on the undercard. You had Elijah Garcia beat Amilcar Vidal. It was a fourth
Oh
round
yeah,
knockout. Vidal was a where is he from? Where is that? Actually, he is from. Trying to think what flag that is. I
maybe
had to.
Panama,
He, it's a South American flag, I believe.
Venezuela.
I
Yeah.
had to double check. Could be Uruguay, but I could be wrong though. But yeah, Garcia, an American fighter. Looks like Vidal came in 16-0, and
Hmm.
Garcia came in 13-0. So I'd imagine it might have been an exciting fight, given what transpired. It ended up being a fourth round knockout, as mentioned, fourth
Right.
rounder. So that's what I need to go back and check out actually.
Hmm.
Um, So, additionally, when we were talking about off air, Jarrett Hurd made his return to the ring in a 10-round middleweight contest against Jose Resendez. Now, I think this was Hurd's first fight at middleweight, if I'm not mistaken. So he was making a move up, and he hadn't fought in almost 2 years. I want to say somewhere around there. And I
Hmm.
know that he was going back to revamp his style a bit. As we know, Hurd is one of those type of fighters who was game at all times, but he took a lot of punches, or he takes a lot of punches, I guess you can say, and is one of those things that makes you wonder how a fighter will hold up as they move deeper into their career, because eventually sustaining that type of punishment, it starts to break things down. It starts to weather certain things, and it looks like that may have been the case here with Hurd, in that he lost a 10th round technical knockout to Resendez, who came in 13-1 at the time. But from what I had saw in the highlights and mention of it, it seemed that Hurd started out game fighting and battling back with him, but eventually just the damage started to take its toll, and he ended up getting some kind of gash or cut that the doctor actually wouldn't let him go forward with. So this is his second loss in a row, or maybe third loss, or no, second loss in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so yeah, he's at that stage where he's just trying to kind of rebuild himself, and we'll see if he's actually going to be a player at 160. He can bounce back from this, I'd imagine, but certainly we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, if it was to because of a cut, then it's a different story. But if
Yeah.
he had been, just beaten down, then of course that would have been like, we could have said, yeah, that's probably it for Jared Hurd. But now it's kind of hard to determine really if that was a matter of him just being on the slide or just getting a bit unlucky, and yeah.
All
So
right.
yeah, but he has had a really quite a meteoric rise at 154, and then he suddenly lost to an underdog, and that can really mess with your mind, with your mindset and your confidence and all that. And then I think he was gone for quite a while from the ring, for there, and so that's another challenge he had to overcome. So yeah, we'll see anyway how it goes in future. But I'm not very optimistic when it comes to his chances at 160. Yeah,
Yeah, so he had lost to Luis Arias the last time out, and that was in June of 2021. So this was his first fight since June of 2021.
right.
And yeah, it was actually a lip issue or something. I guess there was a laceration or something on his lips, and then it ended up being stopped.
Right.
And that's what made the referee step in there. Slidey
Mm.
Counter says that Hurd didn't look too bad, but the kid he was fighting was mentally tough and was making correct adjustments. That's good stuff right there. That's what you look for in fighters, those that can actually come in and make those types of adjustments to be able to withstand what is coming towards them in a fight. And it's good to have the coaches that allow for that to happen as well. So it seems
Yeah.
that That's a good thing if Rendiz or whatever his name is, if he was able to make those adjustments that you mentioned there, sliding calendar, that speaks well of who he is and how his corner actually affects him and his fighting. So, as mentioned, maybe this isn't the end of the road for her. This seems to be a lip issue in terms of the laceration that ultimately stopped the fight. So I need to go back and watch that. I want to see what happened. But
Yeah,
certainly 160, as we always say, 160 is like in open ballpark at this moment, as far as
yeah.
I'm concerned. I mean, so
I
many
think
ways things can go there.
I think there may be like some sort of issues like in here. Maybe. So, I mean, that's why he lost perhaps to Brandon J. Rock.
Yeah,
What was his last
Julian J.
name?
Rock Williams.
Julian Williams. Yeah, it's not Brandon. Because sometimes maybe if he gets pushed back, and so he cannot respond really, and maybe I don't know, he's got problem with consistency, being consistent throughout the whole fight, So yeah, it's maybe some kind of issue mentally, like,
Yeah,
but yeah. Well, I mean, you're right. 160 is quite open, of course, and we got only like Mongia of really serious names there right now. Mongia and Jamal, who is very like you never know where he is right now.
and he's
As,
been removed from the rankings because it's been like almost 2 years, I'm guessing, since he's been in the ring.
yeah, holy crap! Yeah, I mean I don't know what he is thinking or his people, his management.
Yeah.
It's really irresponsible, to keep him out of the ring so long. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm thinking he probably plans to move up to 168 because he can fight there. He is big enough and all that. He's hard enough, and but
Of course, there's some big fights there, we know.
yeah. So he probably doesn't like isn't liking the fact that 160 is kind of empty or relatively empty of big names anyway.
Uh,
So
it's a
as I said,
shame. It's a shame
yeah,
considering it's sort of like 135 a few years back, 135 and 160. All the big names were there, and none of them fought each other.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was like, I mean, full of big names, but now all the guys have moved up. Yeah,
Yeah,
one
we got
forty, 168.
we
So,
got no Danny Jacobs versus any Charlo. We got no
yeah,
Jared Hurd versus any Charlo. That's at 154 more so, but still in or around there. We got no Charlo versus Munguia. We got no Munguia versus any name that is big out
yeah,
there. We got no Canelo versus any of those guys. So yeah, it was all at one.
yeah.
The only well, we got Canelo Triple G. That was the highlight, but we got Triple G versus none of those other guys except for Derevianchenko. So it's crazy
Yeah.
now.
I mean, it's also mostly like I mean, washed up former names like Lara, he's at
Oh yeah,
160, and yeah, a
yeah, he's
couple
still
of
fighting.
others.
He's still fighting.
Yeah, but he's like, I don't know, he's simply nowhere near his prime. He's surviving on his boxing skills, obviously. So
Yeah, and a couple of years ago he removed himself from the clean boxing program that Vada or something like that. One of those clean boxing programs. Why I don't know,
oh,
but he removed himself.
that's strange. Yeah, that's very suspicious. Not
Yeah.
really a good move. Yeah, so yeah, it's sad because 160 was always like one of the glamour divisions, in history, like of boxing. Yeah,
Yeah.
but now,
We need we need Mungia to carry the weight. He can change the dynamic, I feel, if we get him in there
yeah,
with someone. But Janabek, Alam Canola is there, Carlos Adames. Of course, we've mentioned
yeah,
those two.
exactly.
But yeah, outside of Triple G, who I'd imagine is really going to be on a big fight outlook at this point, only the biggest return. There really isn't. any huge name there. I feel like Mungia can be the guy to take it to that next level if we see more of him, and there's certainly more of him with names that actually are a threat.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, he hasn't been really fighting really some good fighters. I mean, since he was at 154, so he hasn't been fighting. Even then, he wasn't always fighting, but he did have some good opponents. He did there, but at 160 has just been nobody so far.
Yeah, I feel like Mungia, yeah, his trajectory, he was at a high trajectory, and I feel like, yeah, he was on the scene and we were seeing him a lot, and then all of a sudden we're seeing him a little bit less, and when we do see him, it's not against a premier opponent. And I feel like he has a lot of backing in Mexico. I feel like you can get guys to go over there, and he
Yeah,
has gotten some guys. They're just not huge names that have been able to do it. But similar to Canelo, I think he had that crossover style and appeal to him. It's just a matter of getting
mm,
him in front of the right audience with the right people. But I think people will support him. We just need those fights to kind of
yeah,
pick up.
yeah. Of course. I mean, a fight between him and somebody like Johnny Becca or even Adames, yeah,
Oh yeah,
that would make pretty. I mean, that would create a lot of interest. I think enough anyway. So
and those seem like they would be easy to make financially. Of course, I don't know what goes on back there, but those seem like that. Of course, there's a clear okay. Mungia is, if you want to go by those terms of A side, B side. Yeah, it's a clear Mungia is the A side. So it would seem that those would be some that can be made. You know.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. But I don't know really what will happen. But
Hmm.
even Mangia can, of course, eventually move up
Oh yeah,
because, like Andrade, he was like that. Like
yeah.
nobody, he wasn't getting for some reason enough big fights at 160. So eventually he said, forget about this, screw it, I'm moving up. So
Yeah.
now he's,
If only he would have fought, he and Mungia would have fought. That would have solved the issue.
yeah, yeah. So what a
Right.
fight! Oof, that would be,
That would have solved the issue. But yeah, we never got that one. There may have been rumors at points, but
yeah.
never beyond that.
So many fights that are not happening right now, and I don't know why, but it's nonsense. So much nonsense. Of course, now that the Crawford Spence fight isn't any closer to being made because Spence is gonna fight
Obviously.
Alexis Rocha.
Oh yeah,
So
Crawford. Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
Crawford, yeah, Crawford.
yeah. I
Yeah,
know we
and
were
Spence
talking
is
about that.
fighting Keith Thurman. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, especially well the Thurman fight, and they were talking about doing it at 154, which makes no sense from the standpoint
Right.
of Spence being a champion at 147. So why would he do a 154 done title fight there? I would understand if it was the busiest of
Yeah,
fighters like they were back in the day, but it's not that case. And
yeah,
of course, yeah, they mentioned Rocha and him becoming the mandatory for Terrence Crawford. I've seen online. Of course, it always happens. Now that Crawford Rocha has been in discussions, I've seen a lot of comments. Oh, now Crawford is fighting Rocha. He's ducking Spence and all that stuff, which is insane to me. It's just
yeah,
an insane situation overall. And yeah, boxing for you. I know
yeah.
I've mentioned before that I didn't think that Crawford Spence would go down the route of Pacquiao Mayweather, but it's certainly there now, and it's probably been taking
It's
too long to get
becoming.
it made, right?
Yeah, well, I hope not, but yeah, it's becoming quite a charade now. I mean, well, this fight with Rocha is, of course, just to keep Crawford active. Obviously, it's
Yeah,
not.
and it's a decent fight. It's a decent fight. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah,
like
it
Roach.
is.
It's a decent fight, but
Yeah, it's
certainly
not
not
some
the fight.
just a warm up fight. I mean, it's not a tune up, but still, I don't think many people are giving Rocha chances to win it. So anyway, but you never know. Of course, you had look what we
Street
happened, like
boxing.
Donald Curry versus Lloyd Hannigan. Everybody was like, "Oh, who is Lloyd Hannigan? He's a
Oh
nobody.
yeah,
Why is he gonna fight him, Curry?" Like, and then
yeah,
Hannigan goes on to beat him up. Stop him.
yeah. You never know. Those type of things can certainly happen in the sport of boxing. So what
Yeah,
takes a punch, then throws him off, and and then hey, things change from there.
yeah. I mean, it's very dangerous to underestimate any fighter. I mean, any fighter can, like, if he is good enough, of course, have a really great night and have a really good motivation, because when they doubt him, his motivation grows. That's how it goes usually. He wants to prove everybody wrong, so he puts on his greatest performance, and sometimes that's enough to beat anybody. If he's got the tools. I mean, of course.
Yeah, yeah, certainly, certainly. Yeah, hey, you make some great points there. Certainly, some great points. But yeah, we'll see. Boxing one of those ever evolving things, or maybe
Yeah,
some would say devolving. Uh, we'll see how it goes though. But I wanted to point out that also there was this card from over in Newcastle to
oh yeah,
moderately big UK names. Lewis Ritson took on O'Hara Davies, and it looks like O'Hara Davies picked up a ninth round KO victory. I haven't seen the fight, but I might go back and check that
he
out.
did. Yeah,
The Battle of Newcastle. Ritson usually is able to pull out a ton of fans who come out and support. But I know that he had a lot of
yeah,
backing and all of that stuff. He got a gift over Miguel Vasquez, I believe it was, a few years back. And it's been, I guess you could say, downhill in terms of that hype since then. But looks like Harry Davis has now given him an
O'Hara.
L. O'Hara Davis, yeah,
Yeah, I kind of thought that it would go that way because O'Hara is simply a more complete fighter, a better. I remember
yeah,
I've seen a few of Ritson's fights, live,
yeah,
and what I could see, right, like from the get go, is this guy has got one game. Only he just goes, and he just puts pressure on. He attacks a
yeah.
lot. And whenever he isn't having success at that, he loses. So I remember the fight against Francisco Patera. You know him. He's a pretty slick guy from Belgium, I
Yeah.
think. Belgium, yeah. So like Richardson goes at his first 4 rounds, he's having success, but then Patera adjusts and just keeps, countering him, laying off the ropes, and Richardson couldn't do anything, after that. So
Oh
that's the
yeah.
kind of fighter he is. He's very limited technically, and with the ring IQ and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's
And
not he's not a big puncher either, actually. So that's even worse.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you are a
Right.
press, yeah, fighter.
Yeah. That certainly factors in. And yeah, I'm familiar with him, and of course O'Hara Davis. I remember he fought Josh Taylor in a fight that was going to see who was going to be the
Yeah,
brightest of the two young guns at that time, who had a lot of hype surrounding them. And of course, Taylor came out on top, and the rest is history in that regard. But we'll see what other noise
yeah.
Davis can make from here.
I never heard of Taylor actually before that, so I was like, "Wow, holy shit! Who is this guy?"
Yeah,
Destroyed like this guy who was so promising. O'Hara was like
yeah, he
really
was.
kind of, yeah. People were saying, like this guy can really do something in the future,
He
but
had the look and style without a doubt.
yeah, but Taylor just exposed him, and I mean, it's not that. I mean, when you say exposed, it's not like he is not good. He is, but he exposed him as not a potential great. That's what he did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sort of like with Josh Kelly, he has that look, style, and feel of a fighter who is going to be special,
yeah,
and he still has the potential of doing so. I know he fought recently; he looked pretty decent in that fight, but we'll see how he does as he continue to go to that top level. But Josh Kelly, he had a lot of people viewing him as okay, yeah, he's the next guy. But
Right.
David Avenese and upset the apple cart on him.
Oh yeah, that Josh Kelly. I was wondering who Josh Kelly is, but now I know. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's right. Another guy who was stopped in one round, right, by Avanesian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
like
he
the Spanish guy,
oh yeah, oh
Learaga.
yeah, yeah, Leonardo, yeah, oh yeah, he brings out a lot of fanfare. He's sort of like Ritson as well. He has a lot of
Yeah,
backing in his
but,
hometown, Newcastle for
but
Ritson, and then wherever in Spain for
yeah,
La Miranda.
but he can't punch. Yeah, anyway, from to like in contrast to Ritson. Yeah, he's from
Yeah,
Bilbao,
okay,
Bilbao, the
yeah.
Basque County. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah, he
yep.
gets a lot of people to turn out. Hey, if you can do that, hey, we can get you a fight date. You know what I'm saying? Certainly
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I always knew. I mean, not always, but he also proved to be very like well. I wouldn't say overrated because he wasn't very well known outside of Spain or Europe, but he proved to be just a puncher and not much else. Yeah.
yeah, there was this guy I interviewed a while back. I followed John Fernandez. He's from Spain. I
Oh
liked him. I
yeah.
thought he was a pretty solid boxer. He's lost a few times, but he's pretty solid overall. But I remember he was on a
Right.
pretty. He looked pretty good, and like he was going to do some big things, getting some tough fights. I think he
He's
lost
at
to
what
Mikael Rivera as well.
what division is he? Welterweight or
At this point, so I feel like he
super?
might have started at 140, but he might
Yeah,
be
I
at
think so
147.
too. He's like
Hmm.
that guy, the other guy, Sandor Martin. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah, he's from Spain over there. John Fernandez. I gotta look him
Sandor,
up.
yeah, Sandor is very good, technically very good. I
Yeah.
did have him beating. I believe I have him beating Teofimo by 1 point or something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Fernandez, he's from Bilbao as well,
Oh yeah.
and,
Hmm.
and he
Nice. Yeah, because his
interesting.
name is Yon. That's right. Because otherwise it
Young.
would
Yeah.
have been Juan. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he's at 140. So hey, his losses not bad in terms of he first lost to Shaqy Foster, who of course just beat Ray Vargas to pick up the title, and he lost to
Yeah. Oh
Mikael
yeah.
Rivera, who ultimately was the one who lost to Frank Martin recently. When I interviewed John Fernandez, he was probably around 11-0 or somewhere in that range. So now he's 23-3. So it looks like he just lost on December 3rd to Samuel Molina. Samuel Molina, who's a guy who get
Yeah.
in
It's
with
kind of
Francisco Patera, and
yeah. But I mean, it's kind of tough, in Spain. Spain doesn't have that big boxing establishment, so they often have to go to UK, USA, and the
yeah,
judges don't really, they don't get any help there, to put it that way, from the judges or anything. So yeah, but that's the
yeah,
way
yeah.
it is. Yeah, simple as that. That's
Oh yeah,
just the way it
certainly.
is.
Just
Some
the way
things will
it
never
is.
change.
Oh, you
You
know
know
about
that
that right
one.
there.
Yeah.
Hey, Hijeka, what's going on, Hijeka family?
Hey,
What's up, my brothers? How's it going, Hijeka? Appreciate having you in here,
hijacker,
buddy.
man. Been a long
Hijeka,
time. Yeah.
it's been a long time. Everybody check out Hijeka. He's been holding it down for a while. Appreciate having him in here without a doubt.
The hijacker. Why that nickname? Do you like to hijack stuff? Yeah.
Hijeka. Yeah, yeah. We appreciate having you in here and everyone who's in and listening. Again, we're talking boxing, baby. The sport that never dies out despite all the claims of such. So
Yeah,
we
don't
still get
listen
these shows.
to don't listen to Dana White or
Oh yeah, don't listen to him.
somebody like
Certainly not
yeah.
him. Certainly not him. A fight I wanted to see that I actually missed that was yesterday as well was a fight between Angel Fierro and Eduardo Estella. So Fierro is coming in 20-1. with 2 draws. Estella 14-1. It looks like it ended via 7th round TKO. This was a lightweight matchup. Of course, I haven't seen it, so I can't really speak to the fight in itself. But it looked like it was going to be an interesting matchup on paper. As I imagine, there probably was some pretty solid back and forth. So I'm gonna have to go back and check that one out. Battle of lightweights, a division that, hey,
Yeah,
has some top names there.
there were a few fights that, you don't know. Like when I see what the results, I was like, that guy fought as well. I just couldn't find any info. That.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's a shame. Yeah.
yeah, without a doubt. And I know one we were talking about that just recently took place. It looks like Murat Gassiev picked
Yes.
up a
Yeah.
2nd round KO in his heavyweight fight.
Yeah.
Um,
That.
and a question I had, just considering such, of course, it wasn't a huge name he was going against, or what, but what do we think the prospects of Gassiev at heavyweight are? Do we think he can actually do something? Of course, he's going to need to fight more for one, but yeah,
Yeah.
outside of that,
I think he can, but I mean, because of course, if he doesn't have to fight Usyk again, but I mean, because it's different. I mean, there are not many so technically good fighters at heavyweight, like Usyk or Briedis or those guys. So if he can, I mean, if he fights guys like, let's say, Dubois or Dubois, as you say, as you call him, or I don't know who else is out there. Jared Anderson.
oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean those kind of guys who are good but not like very slick or like Usyk. I mean, anyway, not
yeah.
so elusive. So he's got enough size and power and all that. I believe. I mean, he knocked out the guy. He knocked out on Friday was the guy I think who stopped Trey Lip Morrison in 1 round.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the world beater that was Trey Lippy Morrison, right?
Yeah, it seems like his half brother Kenzie is seems to be the better fighter. I think maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
Kenzie Wilson. Yeah,
yeah. Gassiev right now is on a one fight a year trajectory, or at least that's what it's been over the last.
right.
After the 2018 loss to Usyk, he didn't fight in 2019, and since then he's fought once each year. So we'll see if anything picks up from here. Maybe
Yeah,
not, but we'll see.
that doesn't seem like they have high ambitions. His people, his management.
Yeah. But maybe with this win, this leads to something. Maybe we'll see him in there with
Yeah.
F.E. Ajagba or Frank Sanchez or something. You
Well,
know?
yeah, those would be good fights, definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
Big
Frank
punches being thrown.
Frank may be a little too slick for him. I don't know, but we'll see. Maybe not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you might be right.
he's one of the few who can like compare to Usyk in that way at heavyweight. Anyway,
Yeah. Excuse me. That is true. He moves very well. Shout out to Hyphy. Says, peace, y'all. Hyphy. Good to have you in here, buddy.
I
As
feel
always,
what's up.
Hyphy holding it down, you know.
Yeah,
Hyphy also says, big ups to Howard for getting back into title contention a few years ago. It appeared he was blacklisted from boxing. Yeah, we were just mentioning that in terms of
yeah,
O'Hara Davis having that look, feel, and the skills that he was going to be that next guy. And I was mentioning when he and Josh Taylor, that is, when they fought, it was like a battle of one of these two was going to be that next sort of bright star. Of course, we know Taylor won, went on to do some amazing things. And Davis, he's been out, O'Hara Davis, he's been out there lingering in the background in some sense. So, hey, maybe this win over Ritson leads to some bigger fights for Davis because, as mentioned,
hmm.
stylistically, he's always had the look and feel of one of those top level fighters. And maybe this leads to him kind of getting that recharge that he needs. And we'll see him in some bigger fights moving forward.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, I also kind of wrote him off after he lost to Josh Taylor, and then he lost to Catterall, of course.
Yeah.
Also, but of course, we've seen now what Catterall is about.
Tough
He's
fights
no
right
joke.
there. Tough
Yeah.
fights.
So it was unfair to write him off. Now he has shown that to us.
He's
Yeah.
still in the mix, still very much in the mix. So at that weight, which is uh, what is that, 100 and what is that, 35 or 40?
No,
Let's
he's
see.
140, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
140. So yeah, at that weight, still a lot of solid names there. Of course, we know these guys at 135 are going to continue to move up there. And we got some big names there right now, so we could certainly see them in the mix there. Of course, Catterall is still there. Of course, we
Yeah.
see a rematch of some type there in terms of those that are across the pond, easier to make, probably, at least from a travel perspective. So yeah, definitely some options there. You can probably make some noise here once again at that on that world stage.
Yeah. Catterall. Yeah, I think so. Of course, Catterall is a very good boxer. He
Oh
just
yeah,
doesn't have that much of punch, but yeah.
yeah, certainly. Hijacker says, "Do you think that Logan Paul is overall a technically good fighter?" What do you think, Vi?
Logan? No, I don't think so. I mean, he's practically lost almost every fight he's had, right? As far as
Hmm.
I know, so it's
Yeah, I think he's had like three. Yeah, you're talking about
yeah.
Logan there, Hijacker. Yeah, no, he's not that good.
Or
Jake
he had
Paul was a little bit better
yeah,
technically than him, but
yeah,
Logan,
Jake.
he was in there with Mayweather, so yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not technically sound.
I
Certainly not
think
technically sound.
didn't he fight KSI the second
Yeah,
time? That was a draw, wasn't it? If I'm
yeah. It
not
was.
mistaken.
I think the first time was a draw, and then the second time KSI won.
Oh, no, he lost the first fight. I know that, but
Oh,
he was
okay, yeah,
close. Yeah.
yeah. I might be wrong. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Jake Paul, I think on that same card, Jake Paul knocked out the brother of KSI, I believe, or something. It
Mm.
was brothers versus brothers.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of showed you, like, oh, I mean, about who the only Paul brother who can fight is. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, Logan. Yeah, he's not technically better than Jake Paul, it seems, and I think he's a little bit bigger, but that's about it. So we'll see what transpires with him. As a matter of fact, oh yeah, that was one of the things that was on the list. Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, the uh,
two.
the fight of the century right there. We had Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, two undefeated greats going at it, with the winner potentially moving into the WBC rankings, I guess, at cruiserweight. So,
Yeah, well, how far out is that? But
eh,
yeah, I mean, you gotta give them credit. I mean, they both fought really. I mean, they fought their heart out there. I mean, no
yeah,
doubt.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, certainly, certainly. So Tommy Fury picked up the victory over Jake Paul, handing him his first career loss. This was Jake Paul's first fight against, I guess,
A boxer.
legitimate boxer, or someone who was a pro boxer, who was
Hmm.
actually a pro boxer with a few fights in. Even though it
Yeah,
wasn't at a high level, but this was pretty much, I think, the level at which Jake Paul has gotten to, which I think that's a pretty solid testament considering he started from scratch. But the fact that he was able to, do what he's been able to do thus far, I guess, kudos
yeah.
in
I
that
mean,
regard. But yeah, Tommy Fury was able to pull off the victory over him, which should
yeah,
end the notion of Jake Paul fighting any other of these real boxers. I think his place is with those type of MMA style fighters that he has been taking down, as spectacles more so.
yeah. I mean, Jake Paul once again proved that he can punch, but since he's not a real boxer and has never fought, had never fought or won before. That was the big difference. Even though that fight was close, but he did score a knockdown, but still he got outboxed for a large part of that fight, and Tommy landed many punches on him, even though he never came close to stopping him or anything. But
Yeah,
it was clear difference in class, and I mean, yeah, boxing experience and all that.
Yeah, and I guess because Tommy had a little bit of amateur experience, even though I think they said it's about 12 fights. I guess that's better than nothing. But yeah, realistically, of course, there are amateurs out there who are better than Jake Paul. Who if he fought, he would lose to. Same with Tommy Fury, of course, as well. It's just one of those things where,
I
yeah, you just
just
have to have your expectations in the right place.
I just remember something funny when they were having that pre-fight. It was like sort of how do you call it? That when they talk to each other, when they're facing each other
Yeah,
before the
yeah, a
fight.
little, yeah, a little face
Yeah,
off type
face
deal.
off. Yeah, and and then Jay goes, "Yeah, I heard you have a baby now, so here is something for your baby. It's a designer brand." It's like he goes, and Tommy says, "Thank you," and that was so strange. Before that, they were kind of insulting each other, and then they go straight back to it, to the trash talk, it was just a moment of like kindness, and then the father, John, he
Oh
gets
yeah.
up and like shakes Jake's hand, like good stuff, boy. You show yourself as a good man.
That's funny. Oh
That
yeah,
was
old John Fury.
never a dull moment with those guys. The
Yeah,
feud.
it never ceases to be the case. So we'll see what's next for Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. They could potentially do a rematch, or maybe Fury's like, I'm taking my newfound win and moving on to bigger, better things. We'll see, though. We
Yeah,
will certainly see.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. Yeah, I mean, but of course, that another fight with Jake would bring in a lot of money and a lot of interest, of course. So,
Especially if they do it in the UK or over
oh
there in
yeah,
like
like in
O2 Arena
Manchester, yeah, where the
or
Furies are
Manchester.
from.
I wonder could
Yeah,
they sell out O2 Arena? Maybe,
yeah.
maybe.
They could. I mean, they bloody well could, but just
Oh
doing some Tyson Fury impersonation there.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's just a sign of how it all has really evolved. Like 10 years ago, you could never imagine that a fight like that even could happen, much less sell out such a big arena,
Yeah,
and so many and be pay per view for Christ's
yeah.
sake.
Pay per view at that. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. In Saudi Arabia, crazy.
yeah, it's crazy,
Hey, they
man.
brought out the stars. They had Mike Tyson out there, Deontay Wilder was out
Yeah,
there, etc. You name it. They
yeah,
had the
Mike.
who's who out there.
Mike he has become some sort of a patron of the Fury family, a protector,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Tyson Fury was named after him. All that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Certainly, yeah, yeah, yeah. Big, there's major homage right there. Major,
Yeah,
major. Cool. All right. So yeah, those are the big fights. Of course, there are some other fights, just not some heat, not big names that many will know of course. But on tap, it looks like there's going to be a Tuesday card in Russia: Abduliev versus Nunez. But I have to
cool.
see where that's going to be, if that's going to be
Hmm.
shown on any video type source. But of course, the big fight that is coming up for this next weekend is Tim Tszyu taking on Tony Harrison. Now, it was intended to be Tim Tszyu
Oh
versus
yeah,
Jermell Charlo, but Jermell Charlo injured his hand or something of that nature. And Tony the Tiger Harrison, Detroit's finest, decided to step right in and pick up the Beacon's call. So
yeah.
this is going to be for a vacant WBO Interim World Junior Middleweight Championship, and it's going down in Sydney. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, I mean that's also a good fight. I mean, even though of course it's a little bit letdown that the Charlo fight couldn't, that he couldn't fight Charlo, but yeah, I think it will be. Tony Harrison presents a realistic challenge because of his boxing skills and his experience from big fights, and it will be a
Mm-hmm.
really good test for Tim. And well, I think I kind of favor Tim Tszyu to win because
Yeah.
he's simply the fresher fighter, and fighting at home, he is aggressive. He can punch and all that. So he's gonna go out and he will be looking to make a real statement. Of
Yeah,
course, also in order for to get Charlotte to fight him as soon as possible. So if he doesn't look good, then you don't know what can happen. That fight can fall through, with Charlotte. So who knows?
yeah, yeah. You certainly, yeah. If he, especially if he comes out and loses, but I think it's still a
Yeah,
win-win. Given I know the build-up between Charlo versus Harrison 3 will be very entertaining.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll see what
yeah,
goes down there. But I'd be looking forward to that as well. And Harrison, of course, he has a chance in there with pretty much anyone as long as he doesn't get caught, because that seems to
yeah.
be when all goes downhill for him.
Yeah, he's had that before, against well, also Jared Hurd was it also that stopped him, and
Yep, yep. Willie
the
Nelson,
big
remember?
yeah
Remember
Willie
Willie?
Nelson, the big guy, six
Yeah,
foot
yeah,
three. Yeah, no, I mean, I remember the Nelson fight, and Tony was really doing well until like the last couple rounds, when he kind of seemed to
yeah.
tire and
Yeah, in
lose.
most cases, he's usually winning.
Yeah, so he gets caught and hurt, and yeah, that's how it goes.
So yeah. So this will be an interesting one, and it's going down in Australia. So it's been cool to see Australia getting a ton of big fights here over the last few years.
Yeah.
With Tim Tszyu, George Kambosos, who kind of
Mm.
in an unlikely fashion ended up putting himself in that position. We saw some big fights there. So Australia, hey, very much
Yeah,
in the mix.
and they got
So
the Maloney brothers. I
oh
was
yeah, yep,
just watching the fight the other day between was it Andrew Maloney and well, doesn't matter. It was an American fighter that he fought, and it was a good fight. And
oh yeah,
uh,
yeah. The Maloney brothers, yeah, they're always game without a doubt, and we've seen them mix it up here and in Australia. So yeah, Australia very much has some live players in the sport. And then
oh
on the
yeah,
undercard of that is going to be TJ Doheny making a return. He's going to be
oh,
taking on a guy by the name of Sam Goodman. Now I can't recall if I've seen Sam Goodman, but he's 13-0. Doheny, of course, is seemingly the more battle-tested opponent, but I want to see what Sam Goodman can do. He's 13-0 with looks like 7 knockouts. So I don't know that I've seen him. I need to look him up actually.
right.
Have you checked him out, or do you know of him?
No, no, I don't know. Sam Goodman, no. Trying to think. Yeah, I don't. Doesn't ring a bell. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and looking at, I pulled up his resume here, and all of his fights have taken place in Australia, as will this one. But I don't see any major names. He beat Juan Miguel Elorde. I wonder if that's any connection to Flash Elorde. Maybe. Uh,
Gordon, yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, he has some grandsons I know that are fighting. Yeah, I read about it a long time
yeah.
ago.
So this one, oh yeah, he was in there with Navarrete. This Elorde. Yeah, I remember that fight. So he's taking on
Mm,
someone who's been in there with the champion. Oh well, no, he's beaten someone who's been in there with the champion, Sam Goodman, that is. And Doheny, he used to
nice.
be a champion, of course. So there is a there's some belts on the line, but not the major world titles. So yeah, we'll see. I like TJ Doheny. He's always game. Typically a fighter who has been involved in some action fights, so he's going to be coming forward doing his thing. So this should be an interesting one. That seems to be the co-feature of the
Mm.
second major fight on that particular card. So
That's the
yeah, looking
name.
forward to that.
That's the name. That's the name you don't forget easily. T.J. Doheny. It's quite
Yeah, yeah,
unusual. That's the name.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I guess
Certainly,
it's
certainly,
Irish, right? Yeah, it's from Irish.
yeah, certainly. And also there was going to be another card this weekend on the 11th that is still taking place. The other big name fight was actually going to be Caleb Smith versus
Wow.
Stephen Sepian, or whatever his name is. I can't remember
Mm,
the guy's name, but it ended up being a case where Caleb Smith he got injured, so that fight is
wow.
scrapped. And now they just moved the co-feature, which is going to be Diego Pacheco versus the Little Leaguers meat cleaver Jack Collins. That's going to be the main. That's going to be the main event now, and that's. And we talked about this last week, and I mentioned that hey, that has the potential of being the show-stealing fight where we see some action, these two kind of babying it out. So I think it should still deliver, even with that being the main event. Diego Pacheco being a guy who's a prospect that was coming up. I guess he's kind of leaving that stage. He's 6'4", and
Wow.
Cullen is 6'3", and these are super middleweights. And we know the super middleweight division is a hot division right now. So
Yeah.
this could lead to something more and bigger for each fighter, regardless of the win or loss. But I think it's going to be an action fight.
Yeah, I hope so. I really don't know much about either guy, but yeah, I'll have to just look out. I mean, check them out, and yeah. Hmm.
Good to go. Good to go. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it should deliver. Then ESPN is going to have a card that same day taking place in France, Paris. It's going to be Tony Yoka, Carlos Takam. We were talking about that a little bit last week. This is uh,
Right.
this is Tony Yoka coming off of his loss to Martin Bacoli, so he's looking to bounce
Hmm.
back. And I think this is a pretty solid sort of bounce back fight. Though, as it was pointed out last week, Takum is getting up there in age. He's 42 now, I believe it is. So we'll see what he has left. We saw him in there with the Russian heavyweight gaining a lot of promise not too long ago in a losing effort. But yeah, Yoka versus Takum. That's going to be taking place this weekend coming up.
Right. Takama is definitely now on the slide now, but still a very tough guy. So he's obviously being used as a simply a bounce back fight for Yoka because he's regarded as a rather safe opponent, I guess, but not
Hmm.
too safe that Yoka can just beat him really easily. So I guess
Right.
that's what he needs, right now. Yeah,
Yeah. Especially coming from that loss. So yeah, this is his chance
yeah,
to kind
that
of
was
throw his name back in the mix. I still
he
need to
got
watch that fight.
he got trashed. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but Cole is really very I mean, quite promising fighter. I think his only loss, yeah, came to Michael Hunter, but that was
Yeah.
he got a cut or something, and just had
Okay.
to, yeah,
Michael Hunter, a name I haven't heard in a while. As
yeah.
far as making any noise in the division, let me see what's going on with Michael Hunter. Michael Hunter, oh, he drew with Jerry Forrest in 2021, and he hasn't fought since then. So I don't know what's going on
Right.
with old Michael.
I mean, he must say he's got tremendous balls because he used to be a cruiserweight, right? I think
Yeah.
he just goes up to heavyweight. I mean, a guy 6'2", and in this age when you got guys like 6'7", 6'9",
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
6'6", like ruling the division practically. Well, now
Yeah.
you got Usyk also, of course, but he's like an anomaly there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought that Hunter versus Povetkin was a damn good fight. It was
Oh, yeah, it
pretty,
was.
wow, amazing almost.
Yeah, draw. He ended up being a draw. That is right. So yeah, Hunter immediately moved up to heavyweight after that loss to Usyk in 2017. Maybe Hunter's whipping himself into top level shape. I feel like he could be even better if he was in top shape like he was when he was at cruiserweight. But I feel like at heavyweight, he just kind of went up to heavyweight. Didn't seem to be strategically playing just the way his body looked fighting there. But maybe he's fixing that. He hasn't fought now in over a year, and let's see what he does with this tie.
Yeah.
Let's see what he does. So
Yep.
yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. It'll be interesting. But yeah, those are kind of the big fights that are coming up for the immediate weekend. And then there'll be
Mm.
a few more later down the road that we'll discuss, of course. But that being said, yeah, that's the action for the week right there. It looks like we're coming in right at the hour mark, which is
Yeah.
going to be a miracle in itself.
which is just fine for me because I'm really tired today. So I was like, maybe
Good
I
stuff.
hope this will not last too long this time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I got you. Yeah, no history discussions today, but next
yeah.
time
No
we're gonna be back
Sam,
with some history. Yeah, no Sam Langford talk, right?
Sam Langford or that guy John L. Sullivan. Yeah,
John L. Sullivan, the Boston Strong Boy. But yeah, yeah, none of that right there. But yeah, appreciate you joining up, Boz. Of course, we appreciate everyone who dropped
anytime.
in.
Yeah,
Hijacker, Hyphy, Sliding Counter. I'm sure some others will probably check out the replay. Yeah, this is a quick hour show for us here today, but certainly we'll be back in the mix next week as there's some big fights, and we're going to check out some of those that we may have missed
yeah.
here this weekend. So with
Nothing
that,
wrong with having one shorter one sometime, once in a while.
once in
Yeah,
a while, right? Once in a while. So yeah, with that, certainly we'll check all of you out. Salute to you, Hyphy there. Uh,
yeah,
like I
man.
said, you enjoyed the Sullivan stream. Yeah, more to come. I'm gonna set up another one, Hyphy, maybe a
Yeah,
few
of
more. I want to
course.
try it out with a few more history discussions. I'm gonna try some
Great.
more this week coming up. So we're gonna make it
Cool.
happen without a doubt. History
Great
talk,
stuff.
baby. All right,
Great
have a
stuff.
good one, everyone.
Bye bye.